GM Quinton, thank you so much for having
Good
this chat
morning.
with me. I don't use GM very often because I normally interview people in the afternoon, my time. So this was the perfect opportunity for me to use that because it's just 8 o'clock here. Um,
Great. Thanks
yeah,
for making time. Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's my pleasure. So, Quinton, could you just tell me a bit more about yourself? I know that you joined the industry in 2017 and you weren't doxxed for years, which is super interesting. So, tell me more about your journey into crypto. Why weren't you doxxed and why did you decide to go public?
Yeah, sure. So I started my crypto journey in 2017 indeed, which was more kind of a hobby at that time. It was just on the side. And I already had a big interest in privacy-focused projects at that time. So I was also aware of the risks of doxing yourself. So I was, a bit careful there. But as the years progressed, I became more and more involved with projects. I also worked for other projects, and I created my own community at some point called Pursuit of Privacy, where I do interviews with cryptocurrency, privacy-focused cryptocurrencies, and write articles and all of that. And then I started working for Zano, and this is a very serious project, and the whole team was already doxed, and I started working full-time for them as well. And yeah, basically this became my job, so I decided to dox myself as well. Yeah, that's the story.
Was there any pressure by the team to get doxxed because everyone else was doxxed?
Well, I was on the team page anonymously at first for the first half year or so. Yeah.
So there was no pressure.
Nope. It was just Mr. Quibs first. Now it's Quinton. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me more about this journey. Like, what was the thought process? Why did you decide to get public and just to not be to get dogs?
Well, sometimes, or that's at least my opinion, I find it very shady when a team from a serious project is anonymous. Obviously, it has its benefits, like keeping you safe from people that have bad intentions. But it's a bad signal to your community, I think. The Zano team has good intentions. We are real people, and we show that. And that's why I decided to dox myself as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's so interesting because you were interested in privacy before you joined the Zama team, and the guys there have an extensive experience in the privacy sector, especially around blockchain. I know that in 2014 they started Blueberry, and then it became Zano in 2019. And the core developer and founder of Zano, Andrey Sabal,
Sabelnikov. Yeah,
yes,
it's hard to pronounce. It's a
I'm
Russian
very
name. Yeah.
sorry. I have it written down, and I was like, "What?" uh, but yeah, he was the founder and core developer. Created CryptoNote, which is like one of the first project associated with like privacy. So tell me a bit more about the project and why did you decide to join? Is it because their fundamental goal aligned with yours?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, I already was interested in privacy, cryptocurrencies, and I have my own group called Pursuit of Privacy, where I write all types of content about these cryptocurrencies. And Zano was on my radar for a long time already, and I already found it a very impressive project. Um, so yeah, it perfectly aligned with my values and with what I see is the perfect cryptocurrency. Or I would not maybe use the word perfect. There's always room for improvement, but near perfection, let's say it like that. So that's why I got involved with Zano, and I already had a background in marketing and community building, which was something that the Zano team lacked at that time. So it was a good match, and yeah, ever since we've been working together. So I just do the community building now for Zano, the marketing part, the business development part.
Yeah. So while I was preparing for the interview, I read parts of the white paper. So there was a concern. There's a concern that I have. So Zano, and that's my understanding. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But Zano and Blueberry are completely separate blockchains. And the initial investors in Blueberry had the option to either stay on that blockchain or move to Zano. But in your white paper says that the developer team will continue to maintain and support Blueberry. However, most of the new features will be developed into the Zano code base. So I'm a bit concerned that the developers who stop developing Blueberry and would essentially means that people will be disincentivized to stay there, or they won't have the benefits of Zano. Could you just help me understand what's like the thought process behind it?
Yeah, definitely. So Blueberry was the first project that that Zano team created, which later became the Zano project in 2019. But Blueberry had two issues. The first issue was that was full proof of work. It wasn't like a major issue, but as a full 100% proof of work blockchain, you are vulnerable to 51% attacks, which means that people can just rent hash rate. You know, you have Nice Hash and all these renting websites where you can rent hash rate. And then you can just perform a 51% attack on a proof of work cryptocurrency. You know, these costs of an attack are not even that high. And on Zano, we have a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake consensus algorithm. So what that means is that 50% of our blocks are processed via proof of stake and 50% via proof of work. So this results in, if you would want to perform a 51% attack on Zano, you would need both the majority of the hash rate and a significant amount of the total staked coins. And I believe 8 million Zano is being staked. That's the estimate. You can't really know for 100% sure the exact number because of the privacy nature of the blockchain, but you can make an estimation based on the difficulty. Hold on, what was I saying?
You were just talking. The initial question was about the difference between Zano and Blueberry. We were explaining the consensus mechanism of Zano.
Right. Sorry, I had the total blackout.
That's okay.
Yeah. But the difficulty, you can base your estimation on the difficulty, and the total staked amount of coins is about 8 million. So if you would want a significant amount of the total staked coins, you would need to buy them from the open market, which would result in a very high cost of attack, you know, because you would have to buy these coins. Zano is priced at $2 plus now, so you do the math. The attack simply becomes infeasible because you want to get more, you want to gain more from your attack, obviously, than what you have to spend. So that was reason one why they decided to create Zano, because they wanted a different consensus algorithm. But the most significant reason for the new project was that Blueberry did not have any funding. So there was no pre-mine, there was no block tax, there was just no funding. There's basically three ways to fund your project. It's either community donations, which never really works because in the end, not many people donate to your project, or a block tax, or a pre-mine. And Blueberry didn't have any of those. So at some time, they run out of funding. So that's when they decided to start Zano with a pre-mine, which is called the Dev Fund, which is completely transparent on Zano, by the way. You can track via a tracking key the balance and what we spend it on, and it doesn't affect the privacy nature of the rest of the blockchain, which is very nice. So that's the reason why they created Zano, and they did not want to fool the investors of Bullberry, obviously, because that would be a wrong thing to do. So that is why they let people do a one-on-one swap to Zano if they choose to do so. You know, there was also people that wanted to keep Bullberry, although I think 90% plus of the community moved its coins to the new Zano blockchain. So almost nobody was left behind. But still, yes, the Bullberry blockchain does exist. It is being maintained here and there by the Zano team, but all the technical improvements and the real development happens on the Zano blockchain. And basically, the whole community moved to Zano, and Zano is the project now of our team.
On the funding side, I noticed that the team will be staking the development funds and you'll be using the interest gain to power the operations. So could you just explain that to me? Because it sounds, at least in the white paper, it sounded like it's a new solution. So I was just interested in how exactly that would work. Would you stake the Zano that you have, or are you planning to stake some other coins that you have? Because I'm not 100% sure on the exact mechanism.
No, the white paper is pretty outdated, to be honest. This white paper was written in 2019, which was the fundamentals of Zano, the basic ideas. But now we're 5 years further, obviously, and a lot has changed. So I would recommend people to look at our documentation instead and the research papers, because there's a lot of new technology that we created, but we haven't implemented it into the white paper because it's just simply very time consuming. It's on our list, but we haven't done it yet. But what was the question?
Oh, the question was about...
for me as well, man. Crap.
It's actually fine. Thank you for being honest about the white paper, though. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. That's all good. But everything of our math is public. It's on the documentation. You can go there. It's called research papers, and all the math is there basically.
Yeah, the initial question was about the development funds and how you're gonna use them, because it was written that you stake them. So I just wanted to learn more about it and how much, on average per year, are you going to earn? Would that be enough?
Yeah. So the initial idea of this, that's why it's still in the white paper, was that if they would stake the pre-mine, the staking rewards from staking the pre-mine would be enough to cover the expenses of the project. But in reality, now 5 years further, we actually use more coins than that we get from staking. So I think there's about 1 million Zano coins left in the Dev Fund, and how much would that give you on a monthly basis? Let me look it up real quick, because we have a staking calculator. 1 million. Yeah, it would give you about 3,000 Zano on a monthly basis, which comes down to like $6,500, which is not enough to cover our project's expenses, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I was like, oh, how much are the rewards for you to be able to fund the entire operation system? But yeah, thanks for clarifying this for me. I like the idea of it. I think it could still be implemented in a further date, but the project is comparatively new, so it's challenging at this stage.
Yeah, it's not really about an implementation, it's just a feature of Zano. Since we are half proof of stake, you can stake your coins. Any holder of the Zano project can stake their coins and participate in the project consensus to protect the network. Yeah, anyone can participate.
Yeah, you touched upon the consensus mechanism, and I think it's the first project that I've come across that utilizes proof of work and proof of stake. And you're talking about enhanced security. Is there any other reason that you chose that consensus mechanism? Like what was the rationale behind it? Because I assume it makes it so much more challenging for the developers, but also the onboarding process of new users could be a bit more difficult because they would need to have some of their coins staked, some of their coins can be of that, like the proof of work. Could you explain that to me?
Yeah, so the end goal has always been maximized security for the blockchain, because that's when you are talking about blockchain security and making your blockchain as secure as possible, you're simply talking about making the cost of an attack as high as possible, so that it simply becomes infeasible to perform an attack on your blockchain. So that was always the idea in mind. And you can do that, you can achieve that via a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake blockchain, because then you need both the hash rate and a significant amount of the total staked coins. And that was pretty much the whole reason, honestly. Also decentralization. For example, a lot of people confuse proof of stake with something that is centralized. And that is because there are many projects that implemented proof of stake in a very wrong way, if you ask me. So the biggest example here is Ethereum. That's what everyone bases this on, because on Ethereum, if you want to be a staker, you have something called like a validator node, which is like a master node, and you need, I believe, 32 or 36 ETH to run one of these nodes. Well, that's insanely high for normal retail, for the normal user. So on Zano, everyone can stake. There's no minimum staking amounts. You can stake as little as 1 Zano. There's no lockup times, and there's also no validator nodes. So this is staking in its purest form, agilitarian staking, if that's the fancy English word, right? It's not my native language.
No, that is.
That's what we call it. So yeah, there you go. That's it, basically.
Yeah, and just to clarify, you need 32 ETH to stake, or you can use a liquidity pool.
Yeah,
which is an option, but then you have like a centralized actor, which makes
we don't even have liquidity pools, simply for this centralized, that we want to avoid, the coins being centralized. Imagine because you trust this validator node or this liquidity pool. If this person had bad intentions, you can just grab your coins and run with it, basically.
Yeah. An interesting feature of the blockchain is called, I'm not sure whether I'll pronounce it right, but it's called Zircanium. And
Zircanium, yes.
yeah, it enables you to stake anonymously, so it can't be traced, and you can also hide the amount. So could you just tell me a bit more about it? But actually, sorry, before we jump into that and talk about this particular feature, I would love to hear your thoughts on the privacy part of it, because opponents of this might argue that it would incentivize bad actors to have their own tokens on Zano and just power their kind of bad projects. I keep using the word bad, but I'm thinking of like let's say terrorists or people that want to do like some money laundering. Like what would be your argument on the other side of it?
Okay, but these are two questions in one, right?
I know, sorry, no. Answer the first question first.
The first one is about Zircanium, right? Like the proof of stake scheme with hidden amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously Zano is a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake blockchain. We talked about that just now. But proof of work was always the more logical choice for privacy focused projects, because with proof of stake there was one major problem, and that is when you are staking, you have to reveal the amounts that you are staking to the network in order to verify how big your portion of the network is, to give you your staking reward. So that basically, what's the right word? Not damages, but damages your privacy. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. But with Zano's proof of stake scheme, it has hidden amounts. So this means that we found a way to cryptographically prove the amount that you are staking, but you are not revealing the amount to the network anymore. So nobody really sees what you are staking, although it can still be verified by the network. So this is first in all of crypto. I hope that other projects will also start using this. This is a pretty big advancement for all of crypto, basically, because proof of stake is now just as anonymous as with proof of work. So that was a big win for us. It was a collaboration between a lead researcher at Monero Labs and our lead researcher. So yeah, that was really nice.
And the second question was about the privacy component, because it's just this terrible saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I know that for us as Web3 natives, privacy has always been something so important. And I personally, that's probably one of the reasons that I joined the Web3 blockchain community. But lately, I've been thinking a lot about how do we balance it? Like, how do we balance the privacy and regulations? How do we balance privacy and ensure that we don't allow certain people to corrupt the blockchain? So what's your take on it?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with education. Governments are busy with CBDCs practically all over the world. You can go to cbdctracker.org and it shows you that almost every country in the world is either researching its CBDC or already developing its CBDC. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is just the reality. Many of these CBDCs are expected to be released in 2025 or 2026, very soon. And if you dive into the details of this is pretty scary technology. And this literally is an attack on your freedom and your privacy. So for that reason, I think privacy coins are very important. But also in the real world, like, I cannot look into your bank account, Ivan. I don't know how much money you have in your account. The bank does know, but they shield your accounts basically. So why would it be any different on a blockchain? Because if we want to really start using blockchain for day-to-day use in our transactions, imagine I go to you are a store owner, and I pay I don't know, for some item for some item with a transparent cryptocurrency. You can immediately see I have $1 million worth of BTC in my account or whatever. You can see who I transacted with, basically everything about me. And that is a huge security risk. It just takes one call. Yo, mate, this guy that just walked into my store, he has like $1 million in his account. Make sure to kidnap him. This is not something that is very safe. It's a huge security risk, and this is why you need privacy by default on a blockchain, and that's why Zano has it. And also for fungibility, that's another reason. There's many cases where there's Bitcoin that was involved with criminal or terrorist activities or something. The Bitcoin itself, those coins did nothing wrong, but they were used for very bad things, obviously. And then an exchange says, I don't want to accept this BTC anymore because it was involved with some criminal activity, and then that results in those specific BTCs becoming worth less than the usual, all the other BTCs. So it's not really a fungible currency. So you need privacy for that reason, because with Zano, one Zano is just one Zano, and you cannot see what it was used for, because it doesn't matter. It's, you know, it's a payment thing. You can pay with Zano. So that's why you need privacy. And the last thing I want to say about this is the education part. I think it's very easy for governments to say, oh, privacy is for criminals, but that is definitely not true. I mean, everyone has uses privacy in his daily life. You know, I cannot look in your wallet, I cannot look in your bank account. You're not walking around naked. Like, if I would ask you these questions, you would say no. Why? Why would it be any different with a blockchain? And with Zano, you can still prove your transactions, because that is also necessary. Like, if I say, hey, I paid you X amount of Zano, but I cannot prove it. But that's why we have something called payment IDs. You can just simply verify via those that I made the payment to you, or verify to an institution or a bank, or, you know, when you do taxes or whatever.
No, that's a very interesting answer. I'm just thinking that governments might not privacy coins are so interesting, and I am a proponent of them, but I also struggle to understand how they will be regulated. And if you think about it, like Elizabeth Warren was talking about how Bitcoin was used to power terrorist attacks, and that wasn't necessarily true, but it's such an easy argument to make. And even though it's so ignorant, because everything's on the blockchain and it's a public blockchain, so people can track it down.
It's a bullshit argument, because it's the same as saying, well, all these criminals use cash money, so we should ban the cash money because it's being used for criminal activities.
Yeah, exactly. I guess like criminals will always use some form of money.
They will use what works best. That's why Monero is the most used cryptocurrency at this moment. Not many people know this, but the most used cryptocurrency in the world is Monero, not Bitcoin. A lot of people on the dark web use Monero because it is private and it works. And yes, obviously criminals know this, but that does not make Monero or any privacy cryptocurrency a bad thing, in my opinion. I mean, I am as good against criminal activities as you are, probably. So
yeah, I agree. But are you concerned that Zano might be the next Monero? And how do you guys think about it? And are you planning to implement? Is there any way to even stop it, or is this just something that you came in terms with and you're okay with it because privacy is so much more important to you?
Well, I don't think I entirely understand your question. Like, if how much I value privacy, is that the question? Or
so the question is, like, because Zano might be used by bad actors, are you concerned about it, and are you planning to implement anything to ensure that it's not? Even though I don't know, or do you even think that it can be done? Do you think that we can implement anything to ensure that Zano won't be the next Monero and be used on the dark web? But also,
we can't really, because it would mean that we would have to install some kind of backdoor, which is a huge security breach of your blockchain. It basically would make the whole concept of the Zano blockchain, you can just throw it in the bin, basically, if you would do that, you know, because then you're giving government authorities a backdoor or something. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And there is no such thing, by the way, because all the code of Zano is open source, so people could just see it. You know, you can see that it's a solid blockchain right now. You can verify all the claims. Privacy is non-negotiable, in my opinion. And if we want to use cryptocurrencies for day-to-day use, you simply need privacy, because otherwise you would just have gangs roaming the streets, waiting to get a call from someone, some cashier saying, "Hey, this dude has $3 million worth of this coin in his wallet." This is not something that is usable in the real world.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with it. Such a challenging issue to tackle. So I know the ring signatures and stealth addresses are behind the two major features behind the security of Zano blockchain. So could you just tell me a bit more about those two and how do you implement them to ensure the security?
Yeah. So there's actually a bunch of things that we use to achieve our privacy, which is ring signatures, like you said, stealth addresses, ring CT. Yeah, and these are just privacy enhancing technologies. Basically, stealth addresses basically hides your address. Ring CT is results in amount privacy, so amounts are hidden. And the ring signatures are the decoys, basically. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for clarifying this. On this point, I know that you can also do confidential coins on Zano. So you enable people to start their own coin and utilize the security the Zano provides. Could you just tell me more about it? Has anyone done it? Is there any interest towards this particular feature?
Yeah, yes, lots of interest. Like, this is pretty unique technology, because this is just like you can create tokens on Ethereum, basically. You can now create tokens on Zano. Very easy in hand twist. You can just say what is the name of your token gonna be, the ticker, the emission, and voila, there's your token. And well, what you do with your token is up to you. You can use this technology for so many cool things. Like, so these tokens are completely private, just like Zano. So they're user creatable privacy tokens. Anyone can create them, anyone can build on Zano, and anyone can create its own asset, its own token. So what you can do with this is shielded versions of already existing assets. So you have wrapped assets on Ethereum, right? So there's like cryptocurrencies that have their own blockchain, and then they have a wrapped version on Ethereum, and then a bridge, so you can swap back and forth, so you can easily access the Ethereum ecosystem and your ecosystem and benefit from both, basically. Well, it is a similar concept on the Zano blockchain. You can create ZETH or ZBTC or ZSOL or whatever, and then you could just swap them one to one, and you could basically make your BTC disappear, or your Ethereum or your Solana, because basically what happens is you send it to the custodial wallet, so to say, and then it once received, it sends you the ZETH on the Zano blockchain, and you can do whatever with it. You can either sell it, like trade it, or you can unwrap it to something else, or you can swap it to something else. Basically, this is a very powerful use case for confidential assets. But also think about stable coins, but then private stable coins. You could make over collateralized privacy stable coins, or pegged to gold, or so many things you can do with this technology. And confidential assets only was introduced like 2 months ago, so we're at the very start of becoming, moving from a single asset blockchain to like a multi-asset digital privacy universe.
Okay, so just to clarify, I can right now use the confidential feature that you have to have my Bitcoin transferred to something like a wrap Bitcoin on Zano, and it will make it confidential. So it won't be, I mean, it will still be on the blockchain, but people won't have the chance to look at my wallet, see what's there, and I can use it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. This is something that is in development, because the technology is one thing. It's there, you know, the asset creation, these assets, they are just as private as Zano. So even this is also very cool to me, like from the explorer's point of view, you know, as a, if let's say you want to see if you can see anything about my transactions, you cannot see what amount was transacted. So you see no amount. You don't see sender receiver addresses. So you don't see who sent it, who received it, no addresses at all. And you also don't see asset types. So you don't see if it was Zano that was transacted, or Ivan token, or Quinton token, or whatever was transacted. So you see, all you see is that a transaction happened. That's it. That's all you can see. And only the sender and receiver can verify it via the key that they have as sender receiver, that the transaction actually took place. But this is as private as it can get, man. This is and then with asset creation on top, that is truly unique. And like I said, this technology only exists for a short while, so we are at the very start of seeing this evolve. And for example, we are also about to release the Zano grants program, which you know, developers can then apply for a grant if they have a cool dApp or confidential asset they want to build on Zano with a use case, and then we can help fund them to grow our ecosystem. But something that we are creating ourselves is called confidential layer. You should actually look it up right now, confidentiallayer.com. And this is basically what we were talking about earlier, the bridge concept with wrapping of assets. We are creating that right now. And it's a very interesting concept because it allows people to just, it basically creates interoperability between native blockchains. You know, you can swap from the BTC network to Zano network to Ethereum network, or, you know, all the major transparent blockchains will be supported, and also Zano. And possibly also even more privacy focused blockchains that have confidential asset support. There's one other project that has a similar concept, which is called Vero. They have a thing called Spark Assets, and I think we will also include them on confidential layer. But this is yeah, this is the power of privacy tokens. There's so much you can do with this. And possibly even beyond, you know, like just as with Ethereum, all the various types of tokens that got released at the start when this technology got released, not every concept was explored, you know. I'm not even sure if people thought that meme coins would become such a big thing. But you know, with privacy tokens, it's a whole new technology. So who knows what people will create with it, what people will come up with. We can just, it's yeah, time will tell, man.
Yeah, 100% agree with it. I just have a question about the confidential layer. Let's say I swap my BTC to Zano, where the funds will be stored. Like, what's the custody? Would it be on Zano, or is it on like a third party? Just in case, I'm asking because imagine the worst case scenario, Zano goes down. Would I lose my BTC just because I used the confidential layer?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's basically, if you want to bridge between different blockchains, the asset needs to exist on all of these blockchains. So let's say you have real BTC, and then you send it to some kind of wallet. And then once that wallet confirms that it received X amount of BTC, then it releases the exact same amount of wrapped BTC on the Zano blockchain. And when you want to swap back, you simply send it to that wrapped BTC wallet on Zano. And once that receives, once that confirms that it received, then you get the BTC released on the BTC chain again. This is not a custodial concept, by the way. I said it wrong earlier. because that would be a major attack vector, obviously, because you could hack these custodial wallets. I believe that the guys from Confidential Layer came up with a very interesting concept where the key is basically distributed. I'm not entirely up to date about the latest development of this project, but basically what it means is there's a bunch of validator nodes here that basically validate that the key of that custodial wallet is basically split between all of these validator nodes. So they all have a little piece of the key, but nobody has the complete key to access the wallet, basically. And they don't have the incentive to do that either, because they get staking rewards and they have a huge stake in the network because you need an X amount of confidential token to have a shard. That's, I believe, what it will be called. So this is a very interesting concept. So it's like a decentralized bridge that allows you to make your assets completely disappear. And this could be a very big thing in crypto, I believe.
No, 100%. Yeah, I like the multi-signature approach. It's something that a lot of companies use, so everyone has a part of the key.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely will have a look at it, and it would be nice to have another chat in a couple of months or towards the end of the year, so you can give me an update on the confidential layer, because that's something that I'm actually interested in. I don't want people to know how much BTC or ETH or so I use, and I don't want them to be able to easily track it back to me, even though they, I mean, if I use it online, they most likely won't, because it's just a long number. But yeah, I think in the future, when we'll be able to use Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency to buy items at the local shop, then this would be a very good use case. But even now, I don't want, because I know that some of my friends, let's say, know my address, so I don't want them to be able to just have a look and see how much I've used, how much money I've moved around. So that's definitely a good idea, and I'm interested in it, and I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of cross-chain protocols with bridges that already exist, like XLR, for example. And these are pretty big projects. I believe there's like $1 billion market cap currently. However, these bridges are transparent. There is no way to move huge amounts of assets from one blockchain to another in a private manner. So this might be the first of its kind. Yeah.
Do you think there are some? Do you think there are any security considerations? Because if you're moving tokens around, you're bridging it. We know that the bridge is the weakest link within a blockchain. So do you think that there might be some issues because of it?
I guess we'd have to wait and see how it plays out. I'm also not the right person to ask this question. I believe it would be better to ask the Zano developers, because I am not fully up to date about the technology used here. I know that it's called decentralized Shamir signature process. That's the process that is used here for the bridging part. But it should be completely decentralized. There should be no attack vector here, basically. But obviously, with these assets, like what could happen, I think, is if this would become very big, then centralized exchanges could get pressured by governments to basically ban any address that transacted with the addresses connected to confidential bridge. Stuff like that could happen, obviously, because the transparent part of these bridges always stays transparent, obviously, you know. So, for example, if you would bridge your ZBTC to BTC to real BTC, you could just create a clean BTC wallet and then get the BTC sent to that address, and you are basically anonymous on the Bitcoin blockchain until you connect it to a centralized exchange that has KYC, you know. So you still have to use this technology in a smart way, because if you are dumb enough, you will still fuck yourself.
No, definitely a very interesting concept. But I want to bring us back to something that you said earlier on about the grant program. Could you disclose how many projects will be there and how much are you planning to fund?
Yeah, this uncertain yet. We are releasing confidential layer somewhere in September. That's the aim, at least now. Could be a little later as well. But that should basically set the standard, you know, like it should show people what you can build with confidential assets, because confidential layer is based on this technology, obviously. So hopefully, if this becomes big enough, it attracts, you know, a lot of eyes also from developers thinking, hey, this is cool, and they will knock on our door and say, hey, I want to build this dApp, or I want to release this asset, or this with, you know, Zano has so many cool technologies that we didn't even talk about, like escrow contracts, which can be used for peer-to-peer trading, or aliases, which functions as like a decentralized ID, and they can all be used and put together to create really cool dApps. But we're basically waiting for confidential layer to launch. Then that should put a lot of eyes on Zano. Hopefully price will rise as well, and then we can put a few 100,000 Zano coins towards the grants program, which should be worth a few $1 million. And then we have a decent budget to work with, and then depending on the application from dev teams, you know, like a very small project might need 50K, and a bigger project might need 200K. I don't know. It will depend on the proposal, obviously.
Yeah, Alias is something that I want to talk about. So it links to your payment address. It improves your user experience because it enables you to generate something like a nickname. And I think that's essential for onboarding people. So they don't need to use this like long set of numbers. You need a simple name. So could you just tell me a bit more about it? What's the idea behind it? Is anyone using it at the moment?
Oh, sorry. I think, can you repeat that last part again? My speaker's turned off.
Yeah, no, I was just asking more about aliases. Is anyone using it? Could you tell me more about it?
Yeah, sure. So you can see the amount of registered aliases on the Explorer. If you go to explore.zano.org, I think there's about 2,000 aliases registered right now. Anyone can register an alias. It's it only costs the transaction fee, which is 0.01 Zano, to register an alias, which is very cheap. So you could register your alias right now on the Zano blockchain. But this will be, like you said, it is very user friendly, because I could just send you money or send you Zano to your alias instead of your long string character address, you know. So I could just send money to @Ivan, for example, which makes it very easy to use, but it will also be used in a reputation system. So like I said, you can build marketplaces with Zano, you can do peer-to-peer trading, you can trade the aliases, you can do so much with the Zano blockchain. So let's say you are selling goods on a marketplace that runs on Zano or something. And you are completely anonymous, because that's the nature of the blockchain, but you still want some form of verification or authentication that you are dealing with a legit person and not with a scammer. So basically what happens is you can attach a reputation system to that. So once you have sold a couple of goods on the marketplace, people can leave a review that is attached to your alias and say, hey, I actually received my items. Ivan is a legit dude. And then others can see, oh, he's a solid dude, I can safely buy items from him. And others, like scammers that are on there, you can only access with Alias. It might get very bad reviews, and obviously you will avoid them. This way, you still have a form of safety on by interacting with these dApps. And I'm just using the marketplace as an example now. There could be, hopefully, 10 years from now or a couple years from now, even tens or hundreds of dApps will run on Zano, just as there's so many assets on Ethereum right now, you know. But now we're just talking about the technology here, what it can be used for.
No, I love the idea about the marketplaces and the reviews that you can get. So even though it's anonymous, you can still give the people the opportunity to ensure that the person that they're purchasing from is legit. So that's an amazing thing. I have a question about the uncapped market supply of Zano. I want to learn more about the rationale behind it, because most projects have like a max, like a cap supply. So what was the idea behind it? I'm a bit concerned that if you could add more coins, then it might devalue the existing coins. So I guess that's like a major concern that a lot of people would have.
Yeah, that's what it first would look like indeed. But Zano has a flat emission of 1 Zano per block, and the block time is 1 minute. So this results in 1440 Zano coming into circulation on a daily basis, which is very low. It's like a daily emission of what's it worth today's value? $3,000. And if you go to our documentation page and then the emissions page, you go to Zano docs, learn, and then emission, you can actually see a table there which shows you that the total supply only increases with like 3.5% every year, and as supply increases, the percentage of the increase decreases, obviously, because there's more coins in circulation every year, but the amount of new coins that come into circulation stays the same. So it's a very, very low emission compared to other projects. And the reason why we don't have a max supply is because we don't believe that just the transaction fees will be enough to cover miners' appetite, basically. So on Bitcoin, you have a concept called halvings, obviously, and on many cryptocurrencies. So basically what happens every X amount of years, the block reward halves, is cut in half, and then again and again and again. And this results in miners getting less and less rewards for their mining efforts. Now, this can only continue like this if the price of your asset rises, which is the case with Bitcoin. So that's why these halvings now work. But at some point, the emission will reach its maximum, 21 million Bitcoin, and then miners only get the transaction fees from a block when they, mine a block. And actually, this either results in that you have to set your transaction fees to a very high amount, which makes your blockchain unusable for the daily user, or you need block rewards. So that's the reason why Zano does have the 1 Zano per block reward always, and there's no halvings. And the amount of coins increases very slowly, but this ensures that our blockchain is always secured and always will be secured. And this is actually a way more rational concept, if you ask me, compared to a blockchain that says I have all these halvings and I'm capped the supply at 100 million coins, for example. On paper, it sounds a lot better, obviously, because everyone thinks, oh, max supply is good, because otherwise there's infinite inflation. But if you look at Zano's concept, for example, it makes way more sense, and the inflation is actually way lower than with all these projects that do have a max supply that hasn't been reached yet. And then on top of that, we introduced something new recently with this Arcanum hard fork that also got introduced, which is the burning of transaction fees. So all the transaction fees, all those 0.01 Zano transaction fees, they all get burned on the network. So doesn't matter if you are sending a confidential asset, because then you have to pay the fee in Zano, obviously. If you're creating an alias, because then you have to pay the fee in Zano. Or if you're sending Zano, then you have to pay the fee in Zano. All these network fees, they all get burned on a daily basis. So as network usage goes up and more activity is happening on the Zano blockchain, more and more Zano gets burned, potentially resulting in the amount of burns surpassing the amount of daily emission. So then it would actually become deflationary, even the supply. And this is something that could happen in the near future as well, as network activity rises.
Is there a scenario where more Zano coins are generated that they're burned, and because you don't have a cap supply, it could essentially inflate the coin?
What do you mean? I mean, burn means that they will, they literally get destroyed. They get burned. So there's no inflation risk there.
Oh yeah, but I was just wondering whether there is a scenario, like a worst case scenario, where more coins are created that they're burned, so you have like increased supply, would essentially mean, because there's no cap, so that would essentially mean that it will inflate the coin itself, because like the burning mechanism is good, but what if we have more coins created and the burning mechanism can't catch up with it?
Well, that's where it is at now. Like the daily emission from block rewards is 1440 Zano. That is all that gets minted on a daily basis for the block rewards, because one block rewards one Zano. Block time is always 1 minute. So on a daily basis, always 1440 Zano gets added to the coin supply. And then you can basically deduct the amount of burns, and that is then results in the daily amount of coins that come into circulation. That's how it works. But it's not like that there can be like a huge the daily amount of coins emitted can't just magically increase. It's impossible. And that's why I said to go to Zano docs and then to emission. You can see there's a table. We are at 14 million Zano coins in circulation right now. And 10 years from now, we will be at like 18.5 million or 19 million. So it's a very low increase. Like there's so many blockchains that double their coin supply in a year or two, especially at the start. And all those coins are mined or staked or whatever, and they get dumped on the market, which results in a lot of sell pressure. But with Zano, this is not the case because the emission is very low.
Okay. And 3040 will be the norm. So it won't increase and it won't decrease because it's like one block, one Zano per block. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no halvings on Zano, So with BTC, there's a X amount of BTC per block that you mine, and it gets halved in a couple of years, and then it gets halved again. We just had a halving. But with Zano, it always stays one Zano per block forever. There's no halvings. So, but this reward can't magically increase either. It always stays at one Zano per block. So this always means that the daily amount of coins emitted from block rewards is 1440 Zano per day. And then the more Zano network is being used, the more network fees get burned, which you can basically deduct from the daily emitted coins. And if that daily amount of burns surpasses the amount of emitted coins from the block rewards, it results in your supply actually decreasing.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for clarifying this for me, because I was going through the documents and the white paper and I was like, oh my days, I'm a bit confused. I don't fully understand it. Why is that the case?
Yeah, it's a pretty complicated concept, which makes a lot of sense once someone explains it to you. But it takes a bit of effort to understand it. Yeah, definitely. Maybe I can look into the documents once more, see if I can make it any easier to explain. But yeah, that's a good one.
No, thank you. Just the final question would be, if I was a developer, why should I choose Zano over the existing blockchains? And I guess the liquidity on Ethereum and Solana at the moment is so high that they're a lot more secure than Zano, even though your consensus mechanism is unique and it provides a very good security. What would be your argument? Why should people build on Zano?
Well, Zano is a very unique blockchain. If you are wanting to develop privacy-focused dApps, then Zano is the place to be, because Ethereum and AVAX and Solana, they don't have the capabilities of the Zano blockchain. They don't have private transactions. They don't have aliases. They don't have escrow contracts. There's no confidential assets that you can release on these blockchains. So for all these reasons, I would build on Zano.
Thanks, Quinton. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'll definitely keep researching and looking at Zano, because privacy coins, I think, are the future, and you guys are building something interesting. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Yeah, thank you for making time. I really enjoyed the conversation I had with you. So yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll just stop the recording.